Before the missiles, before the trenches, before millions were drawn into battle, Iran and Iraq were already locked in a dangerous argument over borders, power, and influence. In 1975, Iran and Iraq reached the Algiers Agreement, settling important aspects of their border dispute. For a time, the two governments stepped back from the brink. This agreement secures our shared future. Indeed, let this be the foundation for peace. Then Iran changed completely. In 1979, the Islamic Revolution overthrew the Shah and brought Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini to the center of Iran's new political order. In Baghdad, Saddam Hussein watched the turmoil next door. He believed Iran's revolutionary upheaval had weakened its military and created an opportunity for Iraq. Iran's revolution has left them weak. This is our chance to secure the border and expand our influence. Yes, President, their forces are disorganized. Good. Prepare the plans. Iraq will seize this moment. On September 17, 1980, 1975 agreement void. 5 days later, the border dispute became a full-scale war. The 1975 Algiers Agreement is null and void. Iraq will never again bow to foreign dictates. We reclaim our full sovereignty over the Shatt al-Arab. Iraq is ready. On September 22, 1980, Iraq launched major air attacks against Iranian targets and sent ground forces across the border. The Iran-Iraq War had begun. Khorramshahr became one of the war's earliest symbols of resistance. Iraqi forces eventually captured the city after weeks of fierce fighting.
Stay down! They're getting closer!
We can't hold out much longer!
Nearby Abadan, home to a major oil refinery, was besieged but did not quickly fall. Iraq's rapid victory was already beginning to slip away. Iran was shocked by the invasion, but the country mobilized. Regular soldiers, Revolutionary Guards, and volunteers entered the fight. From the first days, the war was fought in the air as well as on the ground. Both countries possessed substantial air forces inherited from the military buildup of the previous decade. By 1981, Iraq's initial momentum had faded. Iran began launching counterattacks, gradually forcing the Iraqi army onto the defensive. Iran's first wartime president, Abul Hassan Bani Sadr, also served as commander-in-chief for part of the conflict. Political disputes inside revolutionary Iran complicated the military response. The war effort must not be undermined by factional politics. Mr. President, we need a unified strategy. Agreed, we must consolidate. By June 1981, Bani Sadr was removed from power. The war was becoming inseparable from Iran's internal political struggle. In October 1981, Ali Khamenei became president of Iran, while Ayatollah Khomeini remained the supreme authority of the Islamic Republic. In the name of Allah, I accept this great responsibility as president. With the guidance of Imam Khomeini, we will build a strong Islamic nation. By 1982, the balance had changed dramatically. Iranian forces had recovered most of the territory lost during the invasion.
They're massing over there. Stay alert.
Iraq announces a withdrawal from Iranian territory, but Iran rejected a settlement. Then came a crucial decision. Iran chose to continue the war inside Iraqi territory, hoping military pressure could force Saddam's government to collapse or accept Iranian demands. Iran repeatedly attempted to break through toward Basra, Iraq's major southern city, but Iraqi defenses proved difficult to overcome. The war increasingly resembled the trench conflicts of an earlier century. Soldiers endured mud, heat, artillery fire, exhaustion, and long periods of waiting. Among the commanders who shaped the war were Iraq's Adnan Khairallah and Maher Abdel Rashid, and Iran's Ali Sayed Shirazi and Mohsen Rezai. Their armies fought very different wars, but both faced the same brutal battlefield. Iran sometimes relied heavily on mass infantry assaults, including volunteer forces. These attacks could overwhelm positions, but they also produced terrible casualties. Artillery became one of the defining sounds of the Iran-Iraq War. Entire sectors could be swarmed by repeated bombardment. Eventually, the war reached deep into civilian life through long-range missile and rocket attacks. Iraq used Soviet-derived Scud family ballistic missiles and modified variants, while Iran also acquired and used ballistic missiles during the conflict. In 1988, the missile exchanges intensified. Tehran and Baghdad were among the cities affected, and civilians once again found themselves at the center of a war they had not chosen. The conflict expanded into the Persian Gulf. Commercial shipping became increasingly vulnerable as Iran and Iraq attacked vessels connected to each other's oil exports. The Persian Gulf carried enormous quantities of oil. As shipping was threatened, the war became a concern far beyond Iran and Iraq.
Neither side fought in complete isolation. Iraq received substantial foreign financial, military, and political support from several states. Iran also obtained weapons and assistance through a complicated international network.
Chemical weapons became one of the darkest chapters of the conflict. The United Nations repeatedly condemned their use. On March 16, 1988, the Kurdish city of Halabja suffered a chemical attack in which thousands of people were killed. The tragedy became one of the most notorious atrocities associated with Saddam Hussein's regime. The United Nations investigated allegations of chemical weapons use and repeatedly demanded that the parties respect international law. The Security Council condemns the use of chemical weapons in the Iran-Iraq conflict. We demand immediate compliance with international law. After years of fighting, neither Iran nor Iraq had achieved the decisive victory its leaders once imagined. The countries were exhausted. On July 20, 1987, the UN Security Council adopted Resolution 598, calling for an immediate ceasefire, withdrawal to internationally recognized borders, and the release of prisoners. Iran did not immediately accept the resolution. The fighting continued, while pressure on Tehran increased. We cannot accept this now. Our positions are not secured. The people are weary, but we must hold firm. Pressure is mounting. What is our next move? In 1988, Iraq regained momentum with a series of major offensives. Iran's military position deteriorated rapidly. Iraq's air force continued striking Iranian positions and infrastructure, adding another layer of pressure to an already exhausted country. By 1988, the conflict had drawn the United States into direct naval contention with Iran. On April 18, 1988, the United States launched Operation Praying Mantis after the frigate USA Samuel B. Roberts was damaged by a mine. The confrontation became one of the largest U.S.-Iran naval clashes of the war. On July 3, 1988, the USS Vincennes shot down Iran Air Flight 655. All 290 people aboard the civilian aircraft were killed. The United States said the crew had mistaken the aircraft for a hostile Iranian aircraft. By July 1988, Iran's leadership faced a painful choice. Continuing the war had become increasingly difficult. Khomeini accepted Resolution 598.
We must accept Resolution 598. The war has gone on too long.
Iraq also reaffirmed its acceptance of the principles of Resolution 598. After 8 years, the battlefield was finally moving toward silence. The war is over. We accept the terms. On August 20, 1988, the ceasefire took effect. The Iran-Iraq war had finally ended. The United Nations later deployed the United Nations Iran-Iraq Military Observer Group to monitor the ceasefire and withdrawal. Thousands of prisoners and missing soldiers remain part of the war's unfinished story. The ceasefire stopped the shooting, but recovery would take much longer. The Iran-Iraq War demonstrates how border disputes, political revolutions, regional ambitions, and international rivalries can combine into a conflict that becomes far harder to stop than it was to begin.
On September 22, 1980, the war began for aircraft crossing borders moving into Iran and silent. Between those dates were 8 years of battle over cities and Truzavivin trenches, ships sensing danger in the Gulf, civilians caught at armies. This was the Ross of the Iran-Iraq War.